looking at journalism. We're going to define what journalism is about. We're going to be looking at the purpose of journalism, the constitutional provision for the practice of journalism in Nigeria, the role of journalism, the categories of practice in journalism, or category of practice of journalism in Nigeria or world over. The 5 types of journalism expressions. We're going to look at principles of journalism and then channels of expression in journalism. I hope the time we have left will permit us to be able to cover what I have for us. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, maybe I have not known you, you have not been with us in Lagos Center. My name is Mr. Oluyinka Badonu. So I'm going to be your resource person for this course. And so this is the first class that we are having, and I hope you are set for me, and I hope you are with your writing materials also. Now, the first thing is for us to look at is to define what journalism is all about. We want to define what journalism is all about. Well, in a simple language, journalism is the act of gathering, assessing, processing, producing, and presenting news and information for public consumption. I'll quickly come back to that. It is the act of gathering. It's a profession. Like every other profession, you have doctors, you have lawyers, you have accountants, you have various professions in the world today.
Continue.
So you have various professions in the world today. So journalism is part of the profession that we have. So when we talk about, just like every other profession have their own definition, the same thing too with journalism. So it is the act of gathering, assessing, processing, and then distribution or presentation of news and information for public consumption. I hope we got that. We can also say that journalism trades basically on news and information that the public wants to know and that they must know. So in any democratic society, journalism is inevitable because we are the fourth estate of the realm, or fourth arm of government, like I've always said, after the executive, legislative, and judiciary. So journalism involves us gathering. It's all about information. It's all about news. In our news gathering class, we have defined what news is all about. We have talked about what news is all about. It is the report of any event. The report of any event that we must give to the people. The people wants to know what's happening around them. So journalism has to do with a profession that trains people on how they can see information that is useful for the public. Now, everybody goes outside and so many things are happening, just like what is happening all over the world today. You tune into your TV, to your radio, and what have you, and you see people discussing, people talking about what's happening. Now, it's not just an ordinary person doing that. They are trained professionals, and this professional we refer to as journalists. So what they do is that they gather news, or they gather this information, they assess it, they look at it whether it is newsworthy, because it's not all activity that is newsworthy. It's not all activity that happens around, that is necessary for you to give to the people. Now, the only people that can know that this is necessary for the people, for the hearing of the people, is the journalist. So it is the act of gathering, assessing. Now, once they assess, when I talk about assess, we're looking about, they look at it critically, that okay, this thing has happened. Do you think it is newsworthy? You know our W, H, and O, the who, the what, the why of news gathering. So we look at it and assess it, and then we go to our newsroom. We go to wherever we want to go and sit down to now process it, make it readable. Look at it, okay, how will I present that assessing? Then at the end of the day, you produce or you present or you distribute it as a news item or information for public consumption. So basically, like I said, journalism trades on news and information. Now, journalism is a profession on its own, and it entails high degree of trust. It is bound by ethics and can be practiced by trained personnel known as journalists. What we are saying here is that the public hold us in trust. They believe that whatever we are selling to them is genuine. And so it's a profession that entails high degree of trust. Now, every day we go online, some you see them at the newsstand trying to look at what is the paper saying. It is because they believe that that is the right place where they can get authentic information. Many of us talk about fake news on social media. Many of us carry news that are not verifiable. But we know that when we go to platforms that have recognized themselves as news organization, news media organization, you go there because you believe, you have this trust that if I go and read a Punch, if I go and read a Guardian, if I open to channel, I'm going to get something useful there. So the public hold on have a high degree of trust for us. So, and because of that, it is a profession that is bound by ethics. Every profession has its own ethics. The doctors have their own ethics of the profession. That is the code of practice, because everybody can come out and just throw something for the public to take without considering whether it will hurt their feeling, without considering whether it will damage their character. So, but journalism requires that you have a knowledge of the ethics, the discipline of the profession. So it is bound by ethics and can only be practiced by trained personnel known as journalists. Now, let's move further. Over time, government of nations, they've discovered that journalism is key to nation stability, because information can either make or mar a society. So it was very important to make journalism a professional course of study in more advanced. What I'm trying to say here is that before now, journalism was not seen as a profession. Anybody can just come from anywhere and just begin to write. But they discovered that if we allow it, make it an all-commerce affair, just like nobody can just become a doctor overnight. You must go through the training. You must go through schooling. You must be tutored. The same thing to an accountant too. You can't just start up an organization and just put in anybody. You can't just put your brother, your sister, or just pick anybody on the road, and just say, okay, come and be my accountant. No, it doesn't work that way. The same thing too with journalism. So it is a profession that people are carefully trained, knowing fully well that information can either make or mar a society. So over time, government of nations discovered that journalism is a key to national stability. So information can either make or can either destroy. So nations are very careful. Something happened recently. I don't know if you have been following the news in Imo State. The governor of Imo State, Umuahi, he banned 2 journalists for what he considered as an offense. One is a journalist from the Sun newspaper, and the other one is from from Vanguard newspaper. Now, what was the offense? They published 2 stories, 2 different stories about that related to the state, and the state government felt like what they have reported ought not to have been reported, or peradventure it was not so comfortable that they reported something about the state. One has to do with Lassa fever, and I've forgotten the other issue. And it went, he went into, in his public address this week, he announced that he has banned the 2 of them from the state. Now, if what they have said concerning the state was not something that is worth giving attention to, then he would not have come to the public to come and announce that he's banning the 2 of them. So, meaning that nations, states, government have come to realize that the information that you throw into public space can either make or mar. So, and that is why journalism as a profession, has its own form of ethical practice. It has its own form of discipline. So it is a very, very serious profession, and I want to officially welcome you into the profession of journalism, most especially for those of us who are going to take it up later in future. So that's just in a nutshell the definition of journalism: the act of gathering, assessing, processing, producing, and presenting news and information for public consumption. So I want us to note that very well. Now, the second one I want us to look at is the purpose of journalism. Now, what is the purpose? Having understood the the definition, that they are the ones that are trained to put information out there, put news out there for the people. Now, what is the purpose? Now, the purpose is not far-fetched from the definition we have heard. Now, I want you to listen to me. As the purveyor of news and information in any society, the core or the essence of journalism world over is basically to inform, educate, and entertain. Meaning that these three primary purposes form the basis for the existence of journalism in our society. So the purpose of journalism, as you may have known before, is to inform, to educate, and then to what? To entertain. So these are the three primary function of or primary purpose why journalism is in existing in our society. So please let's take note of that. So news is part of communication that keeps us informed. News is that part of communication that keeps us informed of changing event issues. Now we know of the pandemic that is currently going on, and the journalism profession have been doing excellently well in updating us with the issues of the day, updating us on what the current trend, updating us about what is happening in other countries, both nationally and internationally. So you and I are abreast of what's happening around us because of the role or because of the purpose of journalism. Now, let's quickly look at the constitutional provision for the practice of journalism in Nigeria. The constitutional provision for the practice of journalism in Nigeria. Now, the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, which says freedom of expression and dissemination and also to impart information. The 1999 Constitution of Nigeria is what guarantees the provision. Now, the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria that has freedom of expression is a right that is guaranteed for any Nigerian to express themselves. Now, prior to this time, the practice of journalism does not have its own stand-alone constitution that backs it up, and stakeholders in the journalism industry have fought tooth and nail, asking the government to make its own stand-alone constitution to back up the practice of journalism. But this has not been. The only one that has been attempted is the FOI, which is the Freedom of Information Act of 2003. The FOI Act of 2003, under the leadership of ex-president, former president Olusegun Obasanjo.